G'day everyone, welcome along. I can see you there, Cranky, so hopefully you have some sound. Oh, that van is a little on the loud side, that's better. And I was just thinking we'll get some of this timber, seeing this trailer seems to be a bit possessed, across to the wood chipper. So, hope everyone had a good weekend. Glad to see you can hear me, Cranky, and also that the moderator setup appears to have worked. You now have a blue spanner. So thanks for agreeing to help me out, and it's great to have you along. The time zone's a little bit friendlier, I believe, another hour or an hour earlier for you, I think. I thought this van would fit well into the setup here, but I'm not convinced it's the world's most well-behaved mod. Although I do probably have a bit much weight on this dolly trailer. It's reminiscent of how I have loaded my own box trailer on occasions. But we'll get this lot unloaded into the wood chipper. I've currently got a worker putting barley in down on the field. Goodness me, she is bouncing around big time. That sold that lot. So, what have we got here? Why is that so loud? Okay. Now, let's have a look here. And see what we've got. So, our plants are out of taro. Where's the taro going? There is taro. Oh, I see. It's got to be getting... It doesn't output anything, I don't think, until it gets to 1.5 thousand litres. So it's not the world's fastest taro production facility. It does have... It's full of wood chips. So basically what that tells me is we're not going to be able to run much of these until we get some more of this taro, and taro production is going to be a limiting factor by the looks. So have we actually got anything to sell? Let's have a look here. Not really. Okay. So we've got a few things coming along. I didn't start all of them. Oh, we do have another pallet of those popped out, which means I need to go and get the skid steer. That's almost finished. Let's see. Let's put you over here. just going to... Where's sound, volume master, vehicle volume? Let's just bump that down a couple. Because a couple of these vehicles are a little on the noisy side. Man, that train whizzes around that loop up there. Rightio. I did just a small amount of landscaping on this run up the hill here, just to straighten the road out, so that looks a little bit better. And I've also cut some trees in an area where we can cut out another field as soon as the tractor's finished, although I want to roll over to the next day. I have a question. Do you think we should turn on precision farming? So I'm just not sure. I'm in two minds. It's kind of, there's some pros and cons, but I'm happy to take a other point of view on now. Does that go on there? It's not a problem to turn it on. You can duck out. Oops, that's not. What is that? I don't even know what that is. Yeah, I use it on some cranky and not on others. There's a couple of attributes of it that I like, but there's a couple that I'm not so big a fan of. Now, let's just see what this thing does. Whether this will actually pick this up, I'm not sure. Ah, it does. Okay. Now, we want to put some of this that'll work quite well. It holds them quite tight. They don't sort of flop around like the one Mr. Silly P likes to use all the time. So, that's where some of our things are, so we'll whack some of it in there. We put 500 litres in there, and that might generate yeah, this one's out of the CSZ pack, I think. Maybe it's what he used to use. It's not the one he's been using the last few months. Now let's just see. Is that taking any out? Because I don't want to put it all in there necessarily. No, it's not putting it in any. Oh, maybe it doesn't want any in there. Maybe I've got the wrong bit in the wrong spot. Let's have a look here. Because these are the... No, they take Tero. Ah, okay. Cool. That explains it. Yeah, yeah, the one he has been using up until now, I've used a few times for logs. Now what's interesting? Well, that's not putting in there. What am I caught on? But what I like about this one is that the pallet doesn't swing around in the breeze, so... But we'll go and whack... this in here. We might put all of that one in there, I think. Yeah, that's loading in there, because there should be another one pop out shortly. So let's go and have a look. So that's these, and they now have some stuff, right? So if we activate, and activate. I'm just keen to get some out so that we get some income, and we can figure out which of the greenhouses we want to run while we're building up stocks of things. So we'll leave this tool here. And we'll go and run you back down. Oh, we'll actually leave all of you there, actually. We'll take the log trailer back over. Courseplay thinks it's finished seeding that field, so that's potentially a good thing. Anyway, as I was saying about precision farming, I like some of the extra information that it gives you. I like that you don't have to necessarily fertilize the fields twice. I can take or leave the environmental score. I really don't pay much attention to it at all. So now where are we going? Well, there's more wood down here to load up when we get a chance. So we'll turn around there. G'day Jason, welcome along. Great to see you. I was just asking Cranky what he thought whether we should activate precision farming, play with or without. I haven't got it turned on at the moment. As you can see, we've just dropped some barley in here. I know the field needed liming, but my call was we needed to get the crop in the ground more than we needed to lime it, given that money's a bit tight and that would be lots more things to do, or an extra job to do. We can always lime for next year. But looks like that seed's gone in there fine. So we can take the seeder over here. We also own this land off to the right here, so I've cut down a bunch of the trees and the terrain's a little rougher, but if we go into this view, I think I've put my little cement blobs around the edge to give you an idea of, can't remember how far this way it comes. It comes to about here. Oh, there we go. So up that line there. So there's certainly room for a reasonable size field over here once we get the trees sorted out. But now that we've got seed in both of those, I'm pretty keen that we roll over the day. So that's that's the next order of business, I think. I also leased the service trailer, so we've parked that down here. So I think what we might do is just simply roll over the day, and we can pick up wherever we like in the next game day. So let's do that. Okay, so you'd be a fan of it. I quite like this house. I like the stuff just hiding under the porch. Strikes me as quite cute and just a nice touch. Yeah, Cranky's view was, well, he never uses it, so it wasn't really fussed one way or t'other. Yeah, I don't mind. I certainly like the minimal herbicide, so why don't we go ahead and add it? And that, what I'll do, so I'll just jump out, because the other thing I wanted to try at some point, and I was just waiting for an opportunity. So I did save that, didn't I? Yes. So let's quit that there and go to here, down here. I wanted to try these range extension testers. And Cranky, you probably already know more about it than I do. Even not using it. So, and we'll turn that on and go back in. The way I tend to play with it is you start off where you start off, and rather than try and maximize a score or anything in particular, I just try to have it influence decisions when I've got a decision to make. So what we'll do now, so the first thing we know that will be required is to test the soil. And so what I wanted to do was get one of those larger range, just simply because it gets a bit tedious driving around with the base game one. So that's the base game. And then these are I love the fact that I actually need the mod information. I think the 65 is the one that I want. I assume that's 65 meters. That's quite large. Blue will be fine. So we're just going to lease that. If I've got the wrong one or it's overly unrealistic, we can swap it over. But it's the middle sort of one. I don't know what the circle is on the the base game guy. So, right, so what we now need is the tractor, but if we're going over that way, what we can do, somewhere around here, if I stop spinning around, it'll be light in a minute, chasps. Oh, actually, we can make it light sooner than a minute, can't we? I keep forgetting one of the wonders of streaming is I can modify the environment any damn way I like. So we'll just bump the time up until it gets light. I did put the rest of this rubbish on the trailer so we can, most of that rubbish. That looks like a tree. Whoop. Barrel roll. Okay, that's all that rubbish there, is it? What's that? None left. Good. So let's go and take this to the recycling depot and pick up. And it's nice to see some crop in the ground over there. So that's feels like we're making some progress now. Yes, I'm very conscious of that. That's why it doesn't mean I always manage it, but it's why I run the video time, Jason, at the game time in videos when I don't forget at 6 times. I find that gives me the best chance to get most of, if not all of what I want to do done in daylight. Which is what I've been trying to achieve. Every now and again, I take on a job that I don't judge, particularly if you're doing a contract or something, and that runs into the night, but I really try to keep the video part of that really quite limited. And it's just something I've got to keep an eye on and keep working at. So now we can slow everything down because there's no need to run faster now that the time's up. I'll overtake this guy in town. That's the road I want. Is it? No? I reckon it is. We'll go round the roundabout. Haven't done this more than 100 times in Europe. Missed my turn and had to do a complete lap of the roundabout on far too many occasions. Boom. Coffee dried me out this morning. At least it feels like the middle of spring here now. We've had a couple of days where the temperature that I've actually managed to turn the central heating off for the first time this new summer. Normally I would turn that off in September. Here we are racing into towards the middle of November, so whoops. Oh, that's good to know, Jason. Thank you. I will definitely keep that in mind. I'm pretty sure in real life I wouldn't have been able to lift that off there, but we might have been dragging it and rolling it. But I do kind of like the whole aspect of grabbing this stuff and bringing it to this part of the map. It kind of just feels right. I think the map maker's done a really neat job with it, and the crappy mattress and all. Don't think I'll be throwing this piece of timber away. Timber's expensive. I'm sure I'd have a use for that. Probably even these pallets. Bit of time in the workshop and I'd make something out of those for sure. Okay. Oh, we need to sell it, don't we? And sell, yes. Sell, yes. It's fiddly console-friendly interface. Why would you not put a sell all button there? Just don't understand. I used to have this conversation with my programmers back when they were, particularly that early days of intranet and things like that. They're doing, you know, forms, online forms for people, and you know, they'd take great delight in telling the user that there was an error with their input when they knew full well A, what the error was and what they wanted, and rather than fix it in the code, they just tell the user there's an error and force the user to fix it. It's like, you're supposed to be making life easier. Why don't you just correct it and check that's what the user wanted? Might have gone. Oh, it went in? Yeah, I think it went in. We don't make enough money out of it for me to be all that concerned. I'll get, if I miss something, I'll get it on the next trip. But it's kind of just like a nice action to be able to take it down and drop it off. But we'll grab this this tester and find out what sort of range we put on it, and whether that's got the desired effect, and this will tell us what our fields are. I don't remember if this had a custom map on it or not. Another question, do we push hard to cut an extra field and perhaps put canola in, or do we wait and pop a spring crop in there? What are your thoughts? And if we wait for a spring crop, we could always drop some grass in so that we get a cut off that before we seed. So there's kind of a couple approaches, I guess. Where's that? Whoops. It's not turned in front of him. That's asking for trouble. That's probably the one of a couple of the bigger flaws with precision farming. So it really gets screwed up if you cut a field that crosses the map segment land boundaries, because the map maker's definition of fields and purchasable map areas are different. So these all have numbers, but field numbers are different again. And on some maps, in fact, I noticed something has changed in this numbering scheme in the last patch, because if I go to, it's not so evident here because there's not a lot of fields, although you can see it, right? So these fields down here that are on the freeway, like this guy here, that's not actually field 81. That is field 12. And so Giants have changed something. But yeah, if I've got a field like this guy that's cuts across 2, and I buy the soil map for 190, I won't get this half of the field, and it just does my head in. Even if I've defined it as a custom field, it doesn't always work properly. So anyway, we will solve for that because we will remember to take the straps off next time. Is that enough? Yes, it is. So we'll pop you down there, log you on. I also don't like the fact that if you have a map with lots of common areas where you can't realistically do anything about their settings. Yes, it is a courseplay custom field now, so that's why I'm interested to see what happens when we test it. I've seen on other maps that even being a courseplay custom field doesn't help. So I really don't know what's going to happen here. Oops, there was a tree there. So let's drive down to the corner. Yes. Well, that's because part of that's because field numbers. Okay, that is about the size I was looking for. So my first impression is I'm happy with this mod because I it encourages me to go through the process without doing my head in trying to get concentric circles to sensibly cover the field. And so we can go down there like so. And the only downside is it is a little bit, I presume, going to be a little bit cheaty on the money side, but in the grand scheme of things, we're not going to get too fussed about that. We're trying to have a good time, not a long time. But because it's covering a much bigger area, I'm kind of less sensitive to... Oops. Which way do I want to go? I want to go that way. Oops, let's get better at hitting the right key. Yeah, so even because I've only got this much marked out as a field, even though the area of ground is bigger, so let's see, it won't give me any soil types under the areas that are not. And if I go across to where we've put the grass in, I suspect because I haven't defined this as a field yet. Let's see what happens. I might have to actually define it as a field for this to do anything sensible. How much of that am I going to get? I reckon that. Let's just do one. Okay, what do I now? Send soil samples for analysis. So 5 big soil samples. While I'm here, I might actually define this as a field. That would be probably a good idea, wouldn't it? I've got to do this out of the cab. I can't see where I'm going well enough. It's not an original field on the map, but let's just go through the process and get it defined because I'll need it when I want to cut it anyway. And so we'll just zoom around here like so. And by defining it better as a field, it'll give... I'll fix this end of it in a second. It'll give courseplay a better guide when it comes to using the other field as well. It'll stop it trying to incorporate it so often. Let's just go straight up there. I should have done that before. Whoops. Okay. Let's turn you off. Yes. out of the tractor. So we'll rename this as grass for now. And we will edit. I don't know if you guys usually use the editor, but I have found it quite useful to deal with my incompetence as a tractor driver, or lack of skill as a tractor driver. So as long as you get these little circles, if you haven't seen it before, under the base, you'll notice when you get it in the right spot that the arrowhead on the top changes colour, but it can be a little bit tricky, but you can fix up all the spots where it's not exactly where you want the field boundary to be. And the straighter you make it, of course, the better it is. The other icon there allows you to add new points, and if you go into advanced you can move groups, although I find the tool a little bit fiddly doing that. It's easier just to... And so if we want to delete them, we just the same process. Oops, but I find if I tidy it out once, it avoids a whole lot of problems later on. That looks alright. This edge is not too bad, a bit wavy, follows the road. Being a grass field, I could have left that. Yeah, the group tool is just fiddly. So if so that's one end, and that's supposed to be so they're both, there we go. So now I've got both bits. Just doesn't quite, it can be just frustrating because you continually lose that second connection. But there you go. So that's that job done. Exit out of there. So what did our soil map come back and reveal? It revealed... Okay. So we tested that. We have a soil sample, but it didn't give us a result. That I have not seen before. Now, that's a pretty good quality field with all that loam sitting under there, so I'm happy with that. What about the... I have 2 scores, so that's fine. Yeah, even though I didn't... That's really bizarre. It's not giving us any data. I took a second one after sending the first one. But no, let's have a look. No, I'm in the tractor. So, soil samples. Okay. Thank you. Well spotted. I must have hit B trying to get out of the tractor. Couldn't for the life of me figure out what was going on there. Okay. That explains it. Fat fingers. So yeah, we've got a good slice of loam there. Ultimately, I think I'll end up with this being one large field, and we'll sort of move the grass field around later. But I wanted to get some grass so that we could put that in our compost manufactory. And not surprisingly, we have really spotty fertilization. So, next order of business might in fact be can we afford to fertilize these fields? Yeah, we probably can. So we'll whack this over here near our fledgling equipment area. Whoops. Do I have? I probably do not. Let's go and do that. I probably can't afford them either. I suspect I don't have sensors on this, and the price of putting them on is going to be prohibitive. So that's certainly a possibility. The question is, does it actually do anything? I've kind of, my limited experience has been steered me more towards grass, simply because I get a cut off it and that it creates some value for me, whether it's as silage or hay or whatever it is, whereas oilseed radish seems to provide minimal, if any, fertilization and workshop function customize 14,950. Youch. Okay, we can not afford that at present, so we'll just have to guess the would you get out of there? Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. I've probably, realistically, I've only tried it once since it came out, and I think it returns so little to me that I kind of concluded that for the cost of the fertilizer versus the sale price of silage you'd get off grass, it was just easier to do and a better overall return with grass. But we could definitely give it a whirl. All right, that's the sort of thing that I'm very much up for trying. Oh, you reckon the guy that goes on the front? Well, then I could lease that, couldn't I, and just put that on the... That might be the go. What fertilizer spreaders do we have? We have two potential options. We can go with one of these fellas. They'll all be leasing. They'll all be leasing. G'day, Model House Man. I'll sign if we need you. That's also a good point, Jason. So we've got one of these, and if we went down this path, I'd probably go with the Amazon or the Kubota at the minute. The other alternative is to go, I'm quite partial to the backpack sprayers. I haven't used these ones, although they're just different versions of the same. I mean, ultimately, we probably want one of these guys for spot spraying, don't we? That's the spot spray Duvalaki, isn't it? Yeah. What's the lease of one of those going to be worth? Youch. But doable. 900 a day. So we could potentially grab one of those. But by the time, we're going to be tight on funds, because by the time we do that and some liquid fertilizer, maybe we just stay on the cheap, I think, for the minute. Because if we did that, we would need, and we're not going to have weeds this year because we've ploughed. So maybe we leave the sprayer till next year and we just grab one of these guys and we put, so I'll take votes from the assembled crowd, Kubota versus Amazon. Not that there's very much difference between them at all. And we go with one of those leased. We then get if we can afford it, 2 big bags, but we'll also, to Jason's suggestion, get, that's not the one with the weights. Is that the one with the weight on it? Yes. 600, 750. I think we'll get the ton. So the ton weight on there and leasing that. Yeah, so we'll do one of those. So any votes for the spreader, or are we not particularly fussed? It's definitely Amazon versus Kubota at this point. There's nothing in it, I don't think. It's I'd be going for the basic capacity because the unreal capacities look silly. So 3,200 litres versus 3,900, spread width is the same. This one does lime as well, so that might be a better pickup, because we can now ultimately do lime with it. 42 meters. Let's grab this guy. 1300. It's only going to be 260 a day to hold it, so now we've got enough for 2 bags of fertilizer. So let's try the helm. It doesn't matter having too much fertilizer, because anything left over we can use in our greenhouses. I need to drop this weight over here. Let's select the right one, and back to the shop we go. I don't have lease to own fitted or loaded on here. So the decision I went with on this one was we won't buy it. What I tend to want to do is take advantage of the second-hand gear as much as possible when it comes up. But we've got to get ourselves into a better cash position to do that. But anything we lease ultimately has to go back. The lease to own mod that I run is on the Griffin series, and that's the one where I've adjusted it so that the buyout price is actually 15 to, I think it's about 18% dearer than the upfront purchase, to try and balance out the fact that otherwise it's just a outright cheat. It's a shame, because the lease to own mod's really good, and for just a fraction more time and effort by the coder, it could have been so much better proxy for how I suspect most modern farmers finance their big equipment. Okay, so let's stick you on there. Oh, really? Could have sworn I was on the correct side, but never mind. Yes, it would. I agree, Jason. Really, it's just a variant of the bank mod. And if my coding skills were a notch above almost none, I'd do it myself exactly as you're suggesting. I think there's very much space in the game for a rural finance co, if you like, that has a range of options. Oops. For the modern farmer. And it, once it's set, but it's not like you need everybody to understand advanced finance. You just need a couple of basic products. You got a mortgage, for your land, and the idea that you've got a credit limit. Okay, that's probably good enough. And then you want some sort of leasing product which has the concept of a residual, and maybe just two products: a straight finance product, which is sort of what they're modelling now, and an operating lease, and that's all that's needed. They don't have to be so complicated as to do people's head in, but it shouldn't be that you can go to the shop, select a piece of equipment, say you're going to lease it, pay a periodic fee, and when the total of the periodic fees exceeds the initial purchase price, you can say you own it. It's like, that's just silly. Righty-ho. That was a good call to put this unit on the front. Yeah, I know the concept of what I want. I just don't quite have the skill to be able to package it up. Yeah, well, and then leasing secondhand just becomes a simple variant on, it's a lower residual, and you just factor the price based on the upfront operating hours. It should be fine. Now, what are we trying to do here? We want to make sure we don't use all this in one go. We want to turn on the crop sensor, do we? Alt B. Crop sensor is on. Hello? Why are you not detecting the fields? There we go. That's better. A person that I thought might be able to help me get it done is who I don't know at all. I've just seen him a couple of times in FSG and Scott's chat, is Mark Haythornwaite, who seems, with his mod, it's got all of the basic constructs sort of there. It's got its own screen, and he clearly knows his way around scripting enough for the function calls. We're gonna have enough. Yeah, let's just do it all in one go. Be done with it. That's interesting. It is not fertilizing the grass field at all. Who knew? I thought it would fertilize it at least some. That's all right. Oops, I missed a bit. I mightn't have been looking closely enough. application rates. Oh, I see. Yes, it is just a really small amount. Okay, that works. I'll just get this last little smidge that I missed down the end here. I want to maximise the amount of barley we get off here if I can, notwithstanding I didn't top up the lime. We're going to go, yeah. There's nothing planted in that strip there, I suspect. Yeah, the target flag is definitely much different than when we're on the grass. You're absolutely correct. I wasn't watching that. I was actually watching the mini-map, so that's a good tip. Yeah, so the target level's miles lower. Okay, cool. So we can turn you off. We can fold the crop sensor up. So that's all that stuff done. Welcome, Isaiah. Glad to have you along. Sorry if I missed you come in earlier. And thank you for joining us. Let's go there. Right. Boop, 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 boop. So I think oh, thank you very much. We are on new lands, if you're wondering. It's a relatively new map. And we'll just go up to our garden centre. Actually, do I need the tractor over there? I do not. We might just tab across there. We leave you there. Yeah, my little truck. So what's happening over here? Did I not turn those back on? Let's have a look here. What's happening in our... I'm still a bit confused about... Okay, so they're not on because they're out of Tero again. Didn't I put a heap of Tero in there? Got plenty of Tero in there. So that's the bamboo. And okay, so that's bamboo and aloe vera. I have an I9 12900K with a 3080 graphics card. Okay, we've got quite a bit more taro now. So let's see if we can get this sorted out. I'm not going crazy cranky, am I? I did put a whole heap into the field for the pot plants, didn't I? No. Let's try and just get one. Well, that's what I thought, Jason, except that they hardly grew. And these pallets are 1.5. Ultimately, I'll turn them on to auto-distribute. I just wanted to have some control at the minute of what was popping out. But let's just... That weight on the front makes me turn a little bit faster. It probably weighs a good couple of ton. If I get or if I use that weight we have down the other spot, whether I can ultimately pick up two of these. Let's not pick it up that far away, shall we? Okay, now we have plenty of taro out of the factory, so that's good. I was a bit worried just based... Whoa! Controlling this is tricky. After the first day that it was going to be a real weak link producing this fertilizer stuff, but maybe not. We seem to have, once we get it running, it seems to be producing a much better amount. Okay, so the bonsai plant, so that's the bamboo and aloe vera, and they do need taro, so we'll put a pallet in there. Just got to figure out where it goes. Okay, we'll put it in this one. Which one's that? Is that the bin for it? Maybe it's the yellow bin. Let's find out. It is. It's the yellow bin. No worries, Jason. It's great to have you along. Thanks for popping in, mate. Enjoy the rest of your week. Got some in there, some in there. We'll get some across to the aloe vera. I don't know if I mentioned, I was hoping to use production revamp to help me with, because of the control it gives you over what distributes where. Hi, Marson42, welcome along. Great to have you here. We're just, whoops, struggling with the weight of these. I do have a weight, I've just been lazy about going down and picking it up. But I think I'm going to need to buy a hitch weight for this if we're going to keep moving these around, because there we go. Let's have a look at our productions here. And so that's the bamboo and aloe vera. They are a little way from spawning. What about these guys? They've got enough to go on with. And then the flowers. That's the one I put some in. And they're doing red cabbage and flowers, and they've got a ways to go. So, basically the scenario here is we need to produce enough to sell. I think what we want to do is stop you spawning and put you on distribute, because you've got plenty of wood chips, so you're going to keep going and let you fill up all of those so I don't have to move all these pallets. And in the meanwhile, I'll just put some in. What have we got over there? We've got fertilizer over there, but we've got almost no seed. The thought process. So you're growing, but you're not. So if we made this one just cabbage, so we'll deactivate you there. And then we make this guy flowers. you to be flowers. Right. So we got cabbage and flowers. And hopefully at some point we'll get some product we can sell. When we get some product we can sell, we can buy some more seed and turn on the rest of them. That's the plan. Because if we look at our summary, yeah, some of these fetch reasonable prices. We just need enough of it generated that we can flog them. And then we'll get some cash in. So that's coming along. There's plenty of water, so that's all good. Oh, we do have some to sell. They weren't there before, were they? Cranky, do you remember seeing these before? I think these are saleable eucalyptus. So who knew? That's actually the spawn area for the tree production. So that's good to know. They're very cool. I like that. So that's 1,000 litres of bonsai, 1.7 tonne. 1,000 litres of cypress and 1,000 litres of eucalyptus. So if we go over here, cypress, eucalyptus and bonsai, so there's 5,000 bucks worth of product. Okay, that works. And we sell those at the farmer's market. So that's good to know. We might go and do that a little bit later on. Get off the side of the hill here. Now, just thinking, what's the plan? What's the plan? If we put the plough on, we can begin to cut out that other field, I think. Just see what we're working with over there in terms of clearing it out. I was prepared to admit that I just hadn't seen them, but it's nice to have the confirmation all the same. So let's go around to this spot here. So you can see where I've sort of made a bit of a wood pile there. I can't get the plough across at this end of it, but we can run round, leave the road where it is. So let's kind of let's sort of run down here. Skirt around those trees. I think it keeps it a bit more interesting if we leave the road with a few wiggles in it. I don't feel the need to have a perfectly straight-edged field. If anything, it helps to mask my inability to drive consistently in a straight line. Rightio, so down there. I feel good about that though, knowing that we got 5 grand's worth of produce from the greenhouses to sell. Now, how far down here do we want this field? I reckon we're going to take that tree out anyway, so let's run across here. Oops. Didn't do that very well. So if we head across here, and it gets a bit, the terrain gets a bit nasty where those trees are. There's rocks and things. This might even be the edge of our property here. Let's have a look at the map. Oh no, we go all the way, but there's like that grove, so I think we've got to kick up here and across, because there's like a little ravine or escarpment through here. So let's leave that tree there for now. And then we'll run round here as far as we can. Oops, it's a bit manky. Try and stay out of that dip there. The field doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to start the process. Whoops, that's where the edge of the land is. So let's turn. What I was about to say is the field doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to get a field in here, and we can then, once we get through our first year, kind of tidy it up based on how things develop and get organised. Now, I reckon there's a chance that this boundary can go up at 90 degrees, or pretty darn close to. So let's try that. $89.3 will work for me. What are you thinking, chat? Should we work hard to get this field and pop canola in it, or should we put something like oilseed radish in and pop a spring crop in, given that we've got barley in the field over there? So we need to sort these trees out. Just head back on the line that I was on. Yeah, so the only That's very much the thought I had, Cranky. The only way to make it work short term is to put grass in it, because canolas, we won't harvest that for another 10 months or so. That's certainly true. G'day, Space Wolf Cub. To be fair, I wasn't planning on putting sugar beet in. That doesn't mean it was impossible, but no, I was more thinking about sorghum or soybeans, actually. But I hadn't made a hard and fast decision of any type. This is going to be quite a sizable field by the time it's cut out. Yeah, my thought on that was potentially just to grass it, because then we get a cut. No worries, Space Wolf Cub. You're allowed to even more directly critique my accent if that's causing you challenges. Beets are not beyond the realm of possibility at some point. Just not something that I naturally think of. Yeah, maybe. I reckon once we get all the once we get it prepared, we can, because we don't have to make the decision in the next 5 minutes. Once we get it prepared, we can then potentially smooth some of the big lumps out of it. The other upside of doing grass potentially in the short term is it doesn't have to be completely prepared, so I don't necessarily have to have got all the stumps or everything out. We just need enough to be able to get the seed around, and then we can progressively tidy it up while the grass is growing, and you know, when it comes March, do a cut off the grass, and then we'll decide what we're going to do from a crop standpoint. And you know, any of the spring crops pretty much are a possibility at that point, or wait and wait a couple of extra months and take another cut and put one of wheat, barley, or canola in at that point. So I think I'm probably leaning a bit more in that direction. And we're not quite as constrained as I thought we were, because it looks like those greenhouses are going to provide us with a little bit of income. And so, for instance, you know, like we're going to get quite a lot of grass off this field, then potentially we can drop some cows in and start some milk production too. which mightn't be a bad idea. So that's feeling like a bit of an emerging plan. It also leaves open the potential of Space Wolf Cub selling me on his idea of putting beats in. I remember with some amusement, very good mate of mine, he's an American, and he grew up on a ranch in Idaho. Anyway, many years ago now, he came out with his wife for a holiday here in Australia, and so my wife and I took leave at the same time. We drove to Cairns and picked them up, and then spent 3 weeks driving down the east coast of Australia, you know, showing them kind of bits and pieces of the country. Now, just to put that in perspective for some of you folks, so Melbourne to Cairns is a little over 3,000 kilometres driving by the most direct route, and the coast adds a bit. So we didn't come all the way back to Melbourne with them. We put them on a flight back to the States in the US, in Sydney. But anyway, the relevance of this story is his wife is it's another story, but a blonde Californian lady. So she was, and I say that because, you know, Mike's idea of a meal was, you know, some sort of meat, preferably beef, and potatoes done any one of several ways, but chips was the most common, and that was kind of his idea of ideal eating. Whereas Holly was a lot more adventurous. Or one of the first things we introduced them to was an Australian concept, which was the hamburger with the lot. A hamburger with the lot, as the name implies, has lots on it, and it has the regular patty, but it has a whole bunch of salad bits and pieces and cheese, and anyway, one of the ingredients is beetroot, and which, you know, it can be a bit of an acquired taste, but Mike just could as far as he was concerned, the only good use of beets was to feed to breeding stock. He could not get his head around putting beetroot on a burger. Mind you, these burgers also had pineapple on them as well, so, and egg. Can't quite beat hamburger with a lot and a strawberry milkshake. Now that's real good food. Mark Haythornwaite, great to see you. Thank you very much for dropping in. You'll be pleased to know I'm advertising your mod at every opportunity. I think it's a great piece of work. Yes, we're growing some at the moment. Cranky. Our garden, my wife is doing a terrific job in the veggie garden. For those that haven't seen it, that's Mark's mod, very helpful. That's so the comment that I made, Mark, that Cranky's referring to, we were talking about the lease to own mod, and I mentioned that my coding skills were only half a notch above non-existent, and that if I could figure out how, I've already modified the lease to own mod so that at least it charges you a premium if you try to buy out the piece of equipment. So the way the base mod works from the, if you haven't seen it, you activate the mod, and then any piece of equipment that you lease, it gives you a purchase option. Okay, well, that's a realistic thing. The only trouble is the purchase option or the purchase condition is satisfied once the amount of lease payments in any type exceed the initial purchase price, which is completely unrealistic. So I just modified it to add a residual when it calculates the buyout. And so the conversation we were having, I said it's a real shame that the original modder didn't make it a bit more sophisticated. And one of our other subscribers, Jason, commented that, you know, it would be nice to have a page where you could sort of change some of those settings. And that was then where I made the reference to you, as you clearly had the requisite skills to do some of what we're talking about. And I said, you know, ideally I think there's a place for a proper rural finance company that just has 3 or 4 products that are not earth-shatteringly complicated in their calculation, but just a little bit more realistic than both the bank management mod and the current lease to own mod are, insofar as how they calculate prices. So that's the background, and I completely agree, Cranky. That stock check mod is so useful. It's one of those classic examples of when you see it, you say, well, that's what the developers should have put in the base, because it's just got, it just makes sense. You know, you have screens that have all of the information about what's going on in the game, and then you have a version of it which is your view of the stuff that's relevant to you. That's fabulous. So anyway, that's the background to Cranky's comment. And what we're doing here is we're just cutting out our third field. We've got our barley and our grass in and fertilised, and we also have our greenhouses producing stuff. Goodness me. So we're pleased to see that we'll have some product to sell. We've made a planning decision. Yeah, well, I think solved a pain point for you, Mark. I think you knocked it out of the park, so well done, champ. Often they're that's the catalyst for the best mods, because they're solving real issues. The player base is big enough that if it solves something for you, it's relevant to many other people. Move over there. I need a blade on the front of this tractor. Funny you should say that, Mug. You mean software development's not just about coding, it's actually about usability and helping the user achieve something. Oh, what a novel concept. I could not agree more. I don't know what's more frustrating though, overcomplicated mods or undercomplicated mods. To me, I think there's another part of the line where some folks are more interested in getting the headline that they produced a mod than they are in completing the thought that they had that sat behind it. So. But yeah, certainly the whole concept of usability is a big thing for me. I was fortunate to have a lot of opportunities to work on that sort of stuff through my career, and right from the outset, so I'm going back to the 80s now. I started my career in IBM, as it turns out, and straight out of university, and one of the first experiences I had was in something that was common in IBM at the time called a usability lab, and this was a custom facility. And what we used it for was to help customers deploy solutions, if you like. So to give you an example, a rural customer here in Australia bought a system which was some hardware and software. And remember, we're talking the days pretty much at the beginning of PCs, so these were fairly complicated bits of equipment, and we're in the 80s, and they this was a place where they could test their install procedures, because obviously they were going to have 200 offices around the country in pretty remote areas run by stock and station agents where they needed these systems delivered. And so you were getting a person with, in those days, no computer skill having to set up a system that was going to run their business. So anyway, we invited a few of them in, and the folks that had put the solution together sat behind glass, and you had then got these representative users from around the country to come, and basically they were ushered into a room where they were the only person, a big mirrored screen on one side and plenty of cameras watching what was going on, and they started with the same thing that would be delivered to them in the field. So half a dozen boxes which were numbered and a set of instructions, and their job was to get it up and running. It was a very entertaining process. And they for the viewers, so the product creators, if you like, that sat watching, they all went through the same orientation process, because at first they just thought that the people that we were getting in to test their stuff were, you know, dumb and hopeless, and eventually the penny dropped that it wasn't the people in the room that were being tested, it was the people that had created the product, you know. So I remember one day we watched this bloke and he had hands the size of dinner plates, right? He was a full-on farmer. He'd worked really, really hard yards over the years, and so he pulls this thing, and we thought, Jesus, how's he going to put this thing together, right? It's a delicate piece of equipment. And early on in the instructions, you had to take the floppy disk, and these things, gives you an idea of their age, had 8-inch floppy disks, which was where all the code came from. Anyway, the instructions on the page said to take the floppy disk out of the envelope. Well, of course, when he pulled it out of the box that it was in, the paper sleeve that protected the read-write part of the floppy disk had actually fallen off and stayed in the box. So he's holding this disk and it's got a protective cardboard cover on it. Well, the instruction says take it off, so he did. Everybody's horrified, and it's like, oh my God, what's he doing? So he's left holding this donut of microfiche film, and that wasn't the instruction that stumped him, because it was the next one on the list was said to hold it in the corner, and of course it's a full donut, there's no corners on it at all. So anyway, that was one of the funnier things that that transpired, but there were plenty. So I digress. That was a rather long, distracted story while we plough this field. Car stereos are definitely designed by people who don't want to use them, especially when manufacturers try to cut corners. I am very disappointed with the piece of rubbish in the Honda that we have at the moment, for exactly that same reason. Oops. Put the plough on the wrong side. Yeah, ATMs are a tricky one. They're a user device, but they don't make money. And so there's a really interesting conflict of objectives. Yep. The business case for ATMs is horrible, so trying to get anything done to improve their usability is seriously challenging. Because it's all sunk cost. Okie dokie. So, what we might do, that might be just about where we leave the ploughing. There's obviously a bit more to go, so this can be a project. Oops, let's try turning you off. Now, where's the... that's the vehicle I wanted. And... oops, there's some logs there. I don't reckon those big trees that we've grown over here will fit in this van, so this van is definitely proving to be of limited usefulness. I wonder if our little dumper truck here will tow this trailer. Let's find out. Maybe. He's got a high hitch though, which will probably look really silly. Who puts a trailer hitch up there? He's not going to hitch on anyway. It's the only trailer this guy's going to take's a pup trailer. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. However, the sides don't fold down on this, do they? No. So he's not going to help. He's a solution looking for a problem. Well, so the question I would have for you, Mark, is why do you even need those questions? If you're like 99% of the population, you want to do the same simple transaction almost every time you go to the ATM. So why is that set of steps not recorded in your profile? And when you put the card in, the only question it asks you is, do you want to do your standard transaction? And if so, for how much? Oh, I've got to read that a bit closer. DeQuavion Jr. Welcome. Great to have you here. Now, this will be interesting. I wonder... Let's pick this guy up. The bonsai. Thanks for joining us. Oh, he's heavy. I'm gonna need a bigger boat. Because you're not gonna go in the van. Can't lift you. Can I? So the first order of business, I suspect. Well, maybe. Let's see. And yes, I can take the log days off this trailer, but I want to log in a minute. Whoops. So we're just trying to finish the episode to actually get some... That's a big tree for a bonsai. But I can see one of our first orders of business is going to be to increase some of our equipment so that we... How on earth? Oh, I'm going to need pallet forks to move that other one. So that we've got different gear that's better suited to handling some of this produce. Okay, that's a bit lighter and easier to move. It's on there, alright. Oh, we've got other produce over here. So they would be... Oh, there's some flowers and some cabbage. Now, just because of the time and the fact that I'm not confident I can load the materials the proper way, I would like to get these on the... Actually, that's... You'll go in there, won't you? So rather than stuff around and try and get these loaded, which will take all day. Nobody saw that, we just got that out. And can I take another one of these trees? I do like these greenhouses. I reckon they're a neat mod. They're just different and they just give the garden centre a whole... That's just not quite going to fit in there, is it? Bugger. What if we do it that way? Bang. That'll do. Maybe. So where have we got to take these? So we want to go, we've got flowers. Farmer's market's looking good. Red cabbage has to go to backs, maybe. The farmer's market. Why did you show me that? It's over there, right. So I'm pretty sure the quickest way there is this way. So we're just going to head to the farmers markets, folks, and drop these off and see what our first actual produce sale introduces now that we've got our greenhouses functioning, and then we'll call it a day. But I think that's kind of cool, these trees in their transport crates. Just a bit different. The main fields on our farm are starting to take shape, so we've got enough cut timber to produce wood chips and keep our greenhouses running for a while. So I reckon we're on a good trajectory. If we can get some cash, whoa, this van is not my choice of vehicle, I've decided. Yeah, I knew you were going to pull out in front of me. And stop there, that's always helpful. I agree, Cranky. I think the base game pickup is better. And the main reason I chose this was I just wanted something that kind of looked... Whoa. See, this is now the second trailer I've had this problem on. So I don't know how I ended up turned like that. Now, if I take you off... Do you sell or not? We might have to turn the markers on. Let's see. I have not sold here on the map before. Okay, the zone markers are actually in. So how do you... This is novel. Wood chips, I can see where they are. How do I get in there? Park. Hello? Think you have to take it to individual stalls? Yeah, but how do you get in the gate? That hasn't been thought out very well because these guys are over here. I have no problem taking to the individual stalls. I just would have thought I'd be able to drive in the gate. And there's no button that I can see. Okay. Yep, so you can sell there. So we're getting some cash. But if we're going to do it that way, where else are we selling produce? So you'll sell there. As will you. We'll back you down. Whoops. We would like to back you down the street. Yes, unfortunately. And the modder was going so well because I really like the idea of this market. I'm wondering if I'm using it wrong. I'm wondering if there's something I have to do to open those bollards because they look like the pop-down ones. But I'm not going to faff with it just for the minute. And I'd be fine with if all you had to do, like you couldn't bring a big trailer in, you had to use like a pallet truck from the gate, so you unload at the gate there, that'd be fine with me. But never mind, we will do, whoops. I do like the idea of these individual stalls though, they're kind of neat and cute. So we have cash in the bank. We have a nice little stall here with all sorts of stuff. Even got a portaloo. Somebody spent a lot of time laying out this market, I tell you. It just strikes me there should be something to open that. I will have to do some research. However, flowers are in the wrong sell point. Thank you. Ah, well spotted. Where's the flower sell point? No. No. There it is. That's the cheese sell point. No. Oh, is it around the other side maybe? No, that's potting mix. Am I blind? It looks like it should be here. To the right of the gate. No, that's where I had them, and they weren't taken there. Maybe that's bread. There's ice cream. I'm pretty sure I've now been round all of the spots. Okay. Well, with that mystery in hand, we will call it there, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Really glad so many people were able to drop in. At this stage, the plan is to be back in 3 days from now, same time. But I'll confirm that 12 hours before when I put the when they put the notification of the stream up. So until then, have a good one, everyone. See ya.